Let's hope Pocketbook makes a habit of this, releasing high-quality e-readers alongside this latest line of e-notes. This is the Pocketbook Color Note, and it's not messing around. 1872 by 1404 resolution, 10.3-inch screen, 227 ppi in black and white, 76 ppi in color, and it has all the essentials like Wacom touchscreen, quad-core processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs onboard storage. The biggest takeaway out of all this, in fact, is it's supposed to be a pocketbook, and it is, but there's simply just too much more it can do. So, let's dive in. The build construction of this is just so good. It's so good. The whole thing is built out of a block of aluminum. I'm just going to get right into this. You can slide this back panel off and you take off the magnet, and that reveals pogo pins and an SD card slot, which is the single coolest place we have ever seen an SD card slot concealed in the e-reader world. Absolutely fantastic. On the top, you have completely nothing. On the right side, you have nothing. And on the left side, you have nothing. On the bottom, you have a speaker, you have microphones, and you have a power button with status indicator light, and that's really it. You also have a little bit of a curled around antenna on the other side, and of course where that panel was, the Pocketbook logo. The whole thing is a flush screen and bezel. You do have a glow light, you do have color. Kicking things off with the pen. Now, there's a good and bad thing. The good thing is you can use effectively any pen on the market, from the Kindle pen to the Remarkable 2 pen to the Staedtler, the Lamy, the Fujitsu, the V-Woods, anything else. The bad part is that the pen they give you, it works, it's fine. It has an eraser, has a tip, has a little logo on the side, it's super lightweight, it's about 7 grams, but it's not very good. They just don't have a secondary button, it doesn't snap to the side of the device. This is really, honestly, an 11-year-old pen, something we've seen from 2014 to 2017 from Netronics over in Taiwan that they used on the Mobi Scribe. So it's not exactly the highest end pen, but it does do the job, and they've given you the equipment to just buy another pen. The home screen on a pocketbook is quintessentially pocketbook, and this one comes really close. Because this is a contracted out shell and primarily user interface by bigme, it's going to look almost like a blend. This all kind of looks bigme-ish, especially with the top drop down, that does, but the bottom looks very e-reader-ish. It's almost like they did a 70-30 and they said, you know what, you guys get the top, we get the logo, and we get the bottom. But that's not confirmed, we're just speculating, and it's just a mindless statistic that doesn't really matter. So, settings, let's check it out. This is an Android tablet. First and foremost, I guess you could say, because it's not really an e-reader, it's an Android tablet with a note-taking layer. We'll get into all that, the identifiers of it all. But you'll see here you have brightness, smart light, a whole bunch of color controls, screen timeout. We already looked at sound. You can go to your storage, and unfortunately, a bunch of it is used, 7 gigs out of 32, but you do have that SD card. You do have Play Store as well, and you can enable Google Play services just by clicking it. It was very easy. It's very simple to get into. And you have the recent notes, because that is the primary kind of use case once you dive into this unit. And then you get your recent books. You have notes, reader, apps, music player, and settings. We'll go to apps real quick and show you that anything you see here that is colored, you can get rid of. So for example, Google Play Books, you can remove application, uninstall it. All fine and dandy, like sour candy. All these ones are the preloaded ones, like settings. Obviously, you would never be able to uninstall settings because that's your main kind of UI infrastructure here. You have notes, you have the Play Store. Play Store is just, you know, we don't advocate for them. They don't pay us. They don't compensate us in any way, shape, or form. But Google Play Store is the absolute best. It has all the games, all the apps, all the books, every single thing you would want. Well, I have an Amazon. I want to use my books. Download Amazon. Oh, I have a Kobo Rakuten. Download the Kobo app. I have a Barnes & Noble. Download the Barnes & Noble app. What are you guys complaining about? If you don't like any of those 3 ecosystems, you go over here and you go to books. From here, you get ebooks, manga, audiobooks, a whole bunch of stuff, editorials, newspapers, subscription services. They have too much content. And again, they're not paying us to say this, but why we are saying it is because if you have a Pocketbook, if you have a bigme, if you have an Android device like an Onyx or a HiRead, you just download Google Play and you get everything. You get the Kindle crowd, you get the Kobo crowd, and then you can download free samples. You can look at user reviews, and everything is stored under here, which is Google Play Books. When you go to Google Play Books, anything you've ever downloaded, everything you've ever bought is in your library under Playbooks. And we're going to get into reading a book right now. From a functionality perspective, reading on this is fine. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. You might be saying, oh man, you know, it doesn't look that good. You're not wrong. It doesn't look that good. And that's not Pocketbook's fault. That's where they get the screens. Because if you remove the glow light and you go back to the book, unfortunately, it's just not going to look the same way. And why this is because when you use Kaleido, you cannot simultaneously have the ability to have color at the same time you want black and white. And if I reach off camera here, you'll see this is how white it should be. This is an iFlyTech non-color. This is how white it is, not white. So the problem is that if you had to do color, you can. But what happens is because there's a color array filter on top, you lose a lot of the natural kind of paper properties of an e-reader. And this isn't an e-reader, it's a color e-note. It's literally called the Color Note. So that was by design, and there was no mistake in that. So it just comes with the territory. And if you're asking, well, is there a middle ground? Unfortunately not. There is no middle ground. You can't have both. But in terms of turning pages, it's a little bit on the slow side, and unfortunately, they don't really give you speed modes on this unit. So you're kind of locked into just the way it looks and the way it is currently. It could be addressed in the future when it comes to giving you access to bigme's backend eink center, but right now your display is pretty much isolated and limited to contrast, gamma, saturation. You have reset to default, and that's really it. There's no speed up versions, there's no A2 mode, there's no extreme, there's no HD 256. It's just kind of locked in. Looking at the colors, they look great. Kaleido 3 is the greatest color technology you can buy today. And why I say greatest, I don't say the best looking, because that would be Gallery. And in fact, that's even wrong. It would be Spectra 6. That looks the best, but it takes 14.5 seconds to update. So you would swipe it like that, and it would go wah, 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 and it would just like dither out, and it's like, okay, what's happened? Did it die? And you're smacking the side of it, and then it comes back, and you're like, oh, what the heck was that? That's Spectra. Unfortunately, Gallery 3 is not quite ready yet, so we do really only have Kaleido in our repertoire that anyone can really use viably. So if you look at the shadows and you look at the whites and the kind of bronze of the armor here, it looks kind of good. And you might say, wow, that's awesome. Well, you can also change the contrast as we showed you, so we can make it really dark, or you can make it really light and you have a little bit more of an idea. See, there's the bronze, there's the highlights on the soldier's shoulder, but if you go over there, it's really, darkened out. So you do have to adjust the gamma and the contrast to your own liking. And when you do, honestly, it produces a pretty prominently, nicely displayed color. So it really does come down to you how you craft your experience. But I would say that the contrast and the gamma dials being really the only way you can update it, it's a little bit lacking in that regard, but the screen technology is all there and the operating system is there, and they can easily add more control via an update. So when it comes to the amount of markers, I love it. Look how nice this looks. Look at the little crosshatch on the marker. Look at the beautiful unpixelated lines of the brush and the little dotty nature of the pencil. They give you a lot of tools, and all of these are really nice. They do have line thicknesses and pressure sensitivity on there, so you really do get a good depiction of what it's gonna be when you draw it. So it's just a starting point, the line thicknesses. And as you see, you have pen, brush, marker, pencil, and fountain. Fountain's really cool too, the calligraphy pen they call it, because calligraphic, I think the emphasis is moved over. And it would kind of be how you would draw it based off off of, what the calligraphy pen would be if you press hard, if you press light. I really like it. I think it's a very fast e-note. It's not a very fast device in general. It's not trying to be a spec powerhouse. It's not 8 plus 256, which is the latest standard of RAM and storage respectively, but man, it is quick on the draw, in both pun intended and literally. Now you'll see that you do get a lot of different colors as well, and actually I think we have a little mapped out color thing. We do black, gray, green, yellow, red, purple, blue, and pink, and actually we have a lot of different shades of gray too. I think you go down to the color wheel right here, yeah, so you have black, off black, light black, gray, light gray, and white. So there's a decent amount there. And what I like about this is because the top 6 is pretty indicative of black and white units. They give you all the shades of gray. And then the bottom 6 are the colors. And as you see, orange is absent. There's a lot of manufacturers, for some reason, they just have trouble with orange. So as you're drawing something in the middle, you can add your lasso tool, you can wrap it around, and from there you can move it. You can do text OCR, and then we go to the lasso, wrap around, and instead of moving it around, we're going to click ABC. It's going to recognize and it's going to write it right on the page. That's got to be one of the cleanest approaches to not having to navigate outside of anything else. Go to a secondary menu. A lot of the time when you do that, there's a little pop-up that says Peter, or here's your text, and you can go into it and change things and stuff like that. This one was so quick. And you click on it, and it automatically gives you the little palette for your fonts, your size, your bold, italicize, your justification. You can justify it down, justify it. I actually don't know how to conjugate that verb. Whatever. You can justify it up, down, left, and right. And again, you can just go into your lasso and grab your current workings and move it around again. It's honestly a very good user accessible delivery of these little executions. Now the downside is that there's not much else you can do. There's a couple things here, like you can make a shape like a circle and hold it for a while and it makes a clean circle. You do a triangle or you do a star and it makes a little star. You do I don't even know if it works with a hexagon. Let's see, can I even draw a hexagon? 1 2 3 4 5 6. What if I wait? And it does do it. Actually, you know what? I think it works with anything. If I draw a weird kind of triple snowman thing here and I hold it, it should clean it up. It does. Well, that made it really weird because I didn't make it kind of stop sign octagonal, but it did. I think it's still really cool. Like if I make pretty much anything, it tries to clean it up as best it can into, what the geometric shape it thinks it has to be. Actually, if I draw a flower and I don't lift my pencil, what happens? Oh, it cleaned it up a little bit, smoothed it out. Honestly, it is quite a good note-taking delivery. It's lacking in the overall features, but that doesn't mean it's not a good unit. It does have a lot of customization. It's got a lot of AI features. You can go to the AI wheel and you can do text recognition, AI selection. And of course, you can toggle off and on that magic shape. Magic shapes have been around in the ether for a while. I think iReader started that on their earlier notes, and they just really give you the decent amount of tools to get the job done. You have add a new page, and what I like about it is that it doesn't just add a new page. It says after current page, before current page, at the beginning of note, end of note. No one does that on the add a new page. People do that buried in the settings menu, but no one does that while you're adding a new page. And I think it's these little things like this that really do make a difference. When you're on your pencil, the eraser works really quick. And you know what? It doesn't leave a whole lot of staining in the background. It leaves a little bit of artifacting, but honestly, it's not too bad. And again, if you don't like the eraser, you want something a little bit more sticky, you can buy a Stadler Jumbo, which actually has a rubber eraser at the back. So overall, it does give you some function to get the job done. But again, the pen out of the box is not good. The screen texture is good, honestly. So if we move over to something that has a little bit more of a graphite blend in the tip, like the Amazon Scribe pencil, then you get a little bit more grip. Honestly, it gives you a better feel, gives you a better sound, and it feels better in the hand, and you get that secondary button that does function on some screens. The Pocketbook pen they give you, although it's quick and it's a means to an end, it doesn't really have a lot of character, but honestly, the note-taking experience, the color experience, it does get the job done. You know, the good thing about a Pocketbook device, whether you get the e-readers, the e-note line, because they got a bunch now. They got the EO, they got the Color Note. They're really kind of branching out into this. They actually also have the InkPad X Pro, which is Wacom with Google Play. So they have 3+ devices that are doing e-notes in the industry, and they always give you content. They always give you ways to just pick up the reader and go. They don't just give you a blank unit. So let's check out the speakers situation. Quality of sound, incredible. Volume, not that loud. It's alright, but you're not setting this up to bounce some beats for your party on Saturday night. It definitely doesn't have enough to fill the room, but it's a great speaker. The quality is there, and that translates over into the reading experience too.
For information, please visit LibriVox.org. This recording by David Clark, based in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. bgdavid.wordpress.com. bgcoffee.net.
So again, that audio is not very loud, but it is crisp. There's a good amount of bass. You can go to the playback control, you can add more pitch, you can increase the speed, and you have the stop timer. So if you think you're going to be dozing off in about 5-10 minutes, you put it 10 minutes, then it'll stop, and maybe you're asleep by that time. But if you just let it go, it's going to go through the whole 55-minute or 5-hour audiobook, or however long they usually are. But honestly, speaker is going to carry you through whatever you need. Again, it's not very grossly loud, and there is only one of them, but it's really good, the one you do get. We are over on the Good e-reader website via the browser, and as you can see, everything is running decently. Now, this is one of the only times you can really kick this into an A2 mode, and this is very evident of the European crowd of devices. It started way back with boox and a bunch of other European manufacturers, is that when you slide everything, you go into an A2 mode, but only as long as you're contacting the page. And when you flick it, it has a little bit of inertia and it stops. And then there you go, it goes back into the HD 256. Now, we'll check really quick on the settings, because sometimes it is good to see some settings here. So we do have clear browsing data, and that's decent. That's the very least. There's not a lot of things like, reflow mode or remove images or turn into mobile. So there's limited in that regard, but you can clear cache, cookies, browsing history. So that's really nice if you don't want people to go in there and send you a bunch of stuff and your browser gets too heavy. It becomes no longer lightweight. You can also set the website as a home page. You have Zoom. You do have desktop site. There you go. You do have desktop site or mobile sites. You can toggle that off and on like that. And you do have bookmarks, history, and tabs, so you can go into new tabs and stuff like that. Overall, it's a decent amount of speed. Again, not a spec powerhouse. Don't be expecting to watch Netflix or anything on this. Although, gun to your head, I suppose you could at a very low frame rate. An incredible build quality, aluminum block construction, a secret SD card door hidden behind a magnet snap panel, and all of the Pocketbook reading prowess with none of the drawbacks. How could you possibly get better than this from the brand? Well, teaming up with other body device manufacturers like bigme in order to create this was probably the best thing they could have hoped for. They've unlocked a secret subsector within their own company of a hyper-capable unit without sacrificing any of what made a Pocketbook a Pocketbook. Thanks as always for joining, and thanks for Pocketbook for sending us this sample, and we'll see you guys on the next one.